Good morning. It is March 29. We'll call to order the meeting of the Story County Board of Supervisors. Please stand with me if you're able and say the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Do I have a motion to adopt today's agenda?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Merkin.
Aye.
Hens. Aye. Basil. Aye. Now it's time for public comment number 1. This comment period is for the public to address topics on today's agenda. If you would like to make public comment, please step forward to the table. You can raise your hand on Zoom, or if you're on the phone, dial *9. Seeing no one, will close public comment number 1. Moving on to public hearing items. First, I'd like to take just a minute and recognize elected officials who are here with us and staff. We have Story County Treasurer Ted Rasmussen, Story County Sheriff Paul Fitzgerald, Story County Attorney Tim Meals, Story County Auditor Lucy Martin, Assistant Auditor Lisa Markley. We have Story County Treasurer Stacy Harridge.
Recorder.
I'm sorry, Recorder. If I don't mess it up at least once, it's not really happening.
This is live. Folks.
This is live, folks. Yes, and we have a representative from IT and environmental health, facilities, planning and development. It's just nice to have everyone here with us. We've got our director of the internal operations and external operations. And then on Zoom, we have Anna Henderson from Animal Control. I'm not sure who AAB is, but if I've missed anyone, I'm very sorry. It's nice to have everybody here. And thank you for everything that you all do every day. Next, we're going to move on to the proposed budget information. We've got Assistant Auditor Lisa Markley.
Assisted by Bryce.
Assisted by Bryce.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So our 3 months of work is being finished today. How's that?
A lot of work.
On the budget. So we are going to talk about what's in the FY23 proposed budget. It was published in all 3 official newspapers on 3/17 as required by law. The budget you adopt today cannot be higher than was published, but it can be lowered at this public hearing. There are handouts available that include some of these charts that I have here, along with the projected FY23 salaries of department heads and elected officials. So Story County did see valuation increases again this year. The valuations are what the taxing authorities base their levies on. The rollback is the amount that the property is taxed on. So there's the valuation, and then there's the rollback, and there's the taxable value. If you own a residential home that's assessed at $100,000, the taxable value in the upcoming year will be $56,409. For agricultural property, the assessed value is $100,000, and the taxable value will be $84,000. The commercial and industrial rolled back to 90% and is backfilled by the state at a reduced rate for the next 4 years, when there will be no backfill. This year is 80%. For FY24 it's 60, for FY25 it's 40, and for FY26 it's 20, and then it goes to 0.
What will we be losing total?
We will be losing. So in the FY23 budget, we've got $529,000 budgeted for commercial and industrial. FY26 $132,000. So it just decreases every year, and then it goes to 0 at FY27. So we'll backfill, we'll backfill, we'll backfill. It doesn't always stand the test of time. The multi-res is rolled back to 67.5%, which obviously the most impact on that is in Ames or multi-residential. For FY23, the departmental work sessions were held in in January. There was a 5% cost of living budgeted across the board for all positions. That decision will be made by you in the upcoming months, I assume. The health insurance premiums were based on were based on what was being used currently, and has an increase of 5% in it. We also put in the budget funding for 2 new positions. The asset contribution increased by 8% this year. For ARPA, American Recovery Plan Act, we basically put in FY22 and in 23 receiving $18.8 million. We're budgeting to spend it in the next 4 fiscal years. At this point in time, obviously 22 and 23 are where we're at. There is capital in, and in the ARPA dollars, we have about 2.5 million approved for FY22 budget, and the 23 budget, which we're putting together, a little over 9 million is budgeted to spend. We did open up the applications to external agencies, and to date have tentatively approved about half of those dollars that are being received to those agencies and cities. The CIP is going to be presented today, and it's going to be, it has some, I put some highlights there as to what's included in it. And it's also available on the website. And we are funding for economic development for urban renewal in small communities in home-based Iowa. For with the increase in valuations, accessing the $3.50 max for the general fund and also the supplemental fund, the dollars generated automatically lead to more than a 2% increase, which is why we had to publish a extra time this year. Senate File 634 did that in 2019. We held that public hearing on 3/8. That resolution was passed by a 3-0 vote, and it is required by a supermajority. In 2021, Senate File 619 was signed, and as a result, counties will no longer levy or pay for mental health services locally. The CICS region, which Story County is the fiscal agent for, will employ the staff, and the funding will come from the state. Local funds will be deposited in the regional account by 6/30 of this year. So there will be 5 county employees that will now be regional employees, with Franklin County being their employer of record. So the different funds that we levy, that the county levies for, are the general fund at $3.50 per $1,000 of taxable value. Every taxpayer in the county pays that. The supplemental fund, in order to access the supplemental fund, you have to be maxed at the general fund. Story County is proposing a rate of 89 cents per thousand on the supplemental this year. That does pay for FICA and IPERS of employees paid out of the general fund. It pays for our health insurance. It pays for our emergency management agency funding. We also pay for district court costs, chemical dependency, and election costs sometimes. This year we're not, excluding the regular staff. The MHDS fund, obviously, like I just said, is gone. So there will be no levy on that. The debt service fund, everyone in the county also pays that one. There's no new debt this year. The debt we already incurred is for secondary roads projects and Storycom. And we're levying 11 cents per thousand on that, which is a decrease of a penny. The rural basic is on all people in the unincorporated areas. We are going to be levying $2.83 per thousand on that this year. That is down 21 cents from last year. The maximum on that is $3.95. And I don't recall in my tenure here that we've ever hit $3.95. Tax askings in this proposed budget are lower by 1.5 million, and the overall levy rate is lowered by 45 cents for countywide and 66 cents for rural.
So rural has been maybe not at the limit, but significantly higher.
Yes, yes, it was in the 330s and 40s. So county's budget by service area. So this is the breakdown of where our revenues come from for the upcoming budget year. The revenues of 53.2 million. Overall, the revenues are down 1.2% from the amended FY22 budget. And the budgeted revenues for Story County, 52% are coming from property taxes, 35% are coming from intergovernmental. That does include the ARPA funds because that's considered intergovernmental, and that's about 18% of that 35%.
18% of the total, or 18% of 35%?
18% of 35%.
Thank you.
Commercial and industrial, oh, let me see. Yeah, now I lost my place. That also includes road use tax, state replacement taxes, commercial and industrial, state and federal grants. A lot of things are thrown into the intergovernmental. The county's budget, it also has 5% for local option sales tax, 4% coming from fees for services, and 2% TIF revenue and 2% interest.
Is that 17%? That's not 17% of the 50,000.
I think it's 17% of the total intergovernmental. We get 9 million next year. We had 9 million this year.
18% of 53.
You want my math? Go pull my numbers. For expenses, the FY23 budget looks a little different just for numerous reasons. There's no mental health anymore. Our expenses are 58.8 million budgeted. They're up 0.24% from our amended FY24 budget. Overall, 28% of our budget is going for public safety and legal, which includes services of the sheriff and the attorney. 16%, 9.2 million of the budget is classified as county environment education, and it funds conservation, animal control, planning and development, IRBM, the county libraries, and it's got some ARPA funds in it. So you'll notice that each of those I broke out what part of those budget or those forms are those amounts are ARPA dollars, because we had to fit them into whatever service they were. 15% of our budget is for administrative services, which include the Board of Supervisors, the auditor management side, the treasurer management side, facilities management, info technology, county liability insurance. 13% is for roads and transportation, which is the secondary road budget. 11% is for health and social services. That includes environmental health, community services, VA, juvenile court, the DHS local office, and many of the asset services, and some ARPA dollars. 8% is capital projects. 3% capital projects, which includes secondary roads and regular capital projects. 3% is non-program current. I put about $2 million of ARPA funds in there for non-program current, so that we had dollars distributed evenly. So if I need to move them around, we can, but it'll take a budget amendment at some point. 3% is for governmental services, which include the recorder, the auditor, elections, and the treasurer motor vehicle services. And 3% is bonded debt service.
You said expenses are 2.2%?
0.24%.
0.24%.
0.24%.
And that's including the ARPA.
Correct. That's the of the amended FY22 budget. Yes. So our chart for the FY 22 dollars by taxing authority. This shows the current year distribution of dollars by taxing authorities. We're gonna look at an individual tax statement in the next slide, but this is where the dollars go and gives you a snapshot of the overall dollars generated by each taxing authority. Overall, the schools get about 47%. The cities are next at about 25%. The counties about 17%. And then all the other authorities are below 5%. And they're listed there: the city assessor, the county assessor, ag extension, county hospital, area schools, townships, and then the tips. This is pretty comparable to statewide information. The most recent time ISAC has updated theirs is from counties in the FY 2019 county overview, but it's about the same average statewide. So we did Ames this year. So we have a property assessed at $100,000, and you're going to come pay your property taxes. The breakdown of how those dollars are distributed is represented here. This is based on last year's city levy rate, as their budget gets certified in our office by the 31st also, just like the county does. And the school budget doesn't get certified until August or April 15th. So I'm using last year's levies for a couple of these. If you have a home assessed at $100,000, the taxable value again would be $56,409, and your annual taxes for the in the city of Ames rate would be $1,736. Of that, the school would get 47%. The city would get 32%. The county would get 15%, and DMAC would get 2%. Excuse me. The other in this one includes ag extension, the city assessor, and the Story County Hospital, and that would be 4% dollars. You live in Grant Township, which is also Ames School District in this example. The pie looks like this. Total taxes will be $1,378. The school, once again, would get 59%, the county 30%. Township is 2% here, area school 3%, and the other taxing entities at 6%.
I really appreciate this slide because everybody thinks because they pay the county, property
Right.
taxes to the county gets all.
Right. Right. That's why I do this slide.
Good, it answers questions very well.
Not really, I did just want to make a comment of us having this second hearing that we need to do with the budget. That is not out of the ordinary or something unique just to Story County, if I recall correctly, Lisa, because it changes legislatively. A number of the counties, really all the counties were impacted.
I would say that it's going to depend on how much the valuations increase for the counties, okay? Because the valuation increase is actually the key as to how much we can levy for taxes. So normally, I think the majority of the counties are going to have a increase in valuations. So yeah, probably most counties are going to have to do too. And all the cities had to do too.
Right.
But that's a sign of growth.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, because when you approve that resolution at that point in time and March 8th, I said that it's very deceiving, but it's what we need to do, so we did it.
It's a good presentation. I want to thank you for putting it together because I think it does help answer a lot of questions that people have.
Thank you.
And I also think it's a good budget. I want to thank all the other elected officials and all the department heads who are trying to contribute to it. Fourth one I've seen so far. Gets easier to understand every time, Lisa.
And I appreciate too, and I think the fact that we've been able to increase funding to asset to our safety net organizations, meet the county needs, but yet still be able to lower that levy rate at the same time. So that we just really kind of prioritized the needs of the county and of the residents.
I absolutely agree. Thank you for saying that. I think it also shows how hard everyone in all of our departments and offices work to make sure that they're being responsible and careful with taxpayer dollars. I don't think we can say thank you for that enough. 'Cause, you know, I think we all know a lot of work goes into those budget worksheets and planning and really identifying those places where spending is necessary and maybe we can pull back a little bit. And I think we all appreciate all of that work. And just another thank you to you, Lisa, for all of your work and your tutelage and your willingness to stop what you're doing every time Latifa walks into your office and says, I need your help with this because it still does, I don't understand. I appreciate that a lot.
I would also point out, if anybody's looking at the first budget document and notices that the expenditure total is higher and much higher in 23 than 22, that does include nearly $10 million of ARPA funds.
Right.
Right.
So just, and I know you said that, but I just wanted to,
Yeah.
looked at that and thought, I think that's worth, because somebody can look at it and say, oh my gosh. No, that's all the ARPA funds that came to Story County.
Right.
Just.
Correct.
All right, so next, no other questions, I'm guessing. Okay. Next, we have consideration of resolution 22-68 for elected official salaries.
So this is required, the board makes a determination after the county compensation board meets. It did meet on December 9th of 2021. It made the following salary recommendations of 5% across the board. The way the resolution has to be put together is that I don't put the percent, I have to put the dollar amount. So I've done the calculation. And this is what that proposed increase would be in what the salaries would be for elected officials starting July 1st.
Questions? I have any questions. I will entertain a motion.
I move approval of resolution 22-68 for elected officials salaries from this year.
Second.
Seconded. Merkin.
Aye.
Evans. Aye. Basil. Aye. Thank you for putting that together as well. So moving on to what hearing on the budget. So procedures for budget public hearing would be, if you would like to make comment, please give your name and address. And each person who wishes to make a comment, please do so, but please try to keep your comments brief. Anyone who would like to make a comment?
To open the public hearing.
She was just given the procedure for it, but yes, she did need it.
The public hearing.
And this is for discussion or comment on resolution 2269. Is that correct?
The
I just wanna
budget.
make sure
This
this
is
is for the
budget.
For the budget, okay.
Yes. Seeing no one, we will close public hearing. And I would entertain a motion.
Again. So are we on the budget? It's not resolution 2268, it's just.
2269.
Okay, that's what I was asking before, so, okay, then I move approval of resolution 2269 for the fiscal year 2023 budget as presented and certified taxes as published, which includes assignment of funds in the general fund for specific purposes, assigned amount in the ending roll fund as unallocated local option tax, sales tax at 40%, and direct the auditor to properly certify and file the budget and the certificate of taxes.
Second.
Seconded. Any discussion? Hens. Aye. Merkin.
Aye.
Basil. Aye. Thank you. And again, thank you for all of your work, everyone, for all of your work on the budget this year. Moving on, we have consideration of proclamation recognizing April 2022 as National County Government Month. I will begin. Whereas the nation's 3,069 counties serving more than 300 million Americans provide essential services to create healthy, safe, and vibrant communities. And whereas counties provide health services, administer justice, keep communities safe, foster economic opportunities, and much more. And
whereas Story County and all counties take pride in our responsibility to protect and enhance the health, well-being, and safety of our residents in efficient and cost-effective ways. And whereas under the leadership of the National Association of Counties, President Larry Johnson, NACO is demonstrating how counties thrive, especially in supporting residents and businesses during the coronavirus pandemic. And
Whereas each year since 1991, the National Association of Counties has encouraged counties across the country to elevate awareness of county responsibilities, programs, and services. And now therefore be it resolved that the Story County Board of Supervisors do hereby proclaim April 2022 as National County Government Month and encourage all county officials, employees, schools, and residents to participate in county government celebration activities. I move approval of the proclamation.
moved and seconded. Merkin.
Aye.
Hens.
Aye.
Basil. Aye. Thank you. We get a picture then. Moving on to agency reports, nothing for agency reports, consideration of minutes from March 22nd, 2022. There aren't any. Moving on to consideration of personnel actions.
I move approval of personnel actions as listed.
Second.
Hens. Aye. Merkin.
Aye.
Basil. Aye. Next, we have consideration of claims.
I move approval of claims as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Merkin.
Aye.
Hens.
Aye.
Basil. Aye. Consent agenda.
I move approval of consent agenda items as listed.
Second. Moved and seconded. Hens. Aye. Merkin.
Aye.
Basil. Aye. For additional items, we have discussion and consideration of quote between Story County and Heartland Business Systems for boardroom AV project title.
Good morning.
Morning.
Okay, so have you all had a chance to look over the quote a little bit? I know that there's just a bunch of equipment in there that probably doesn't mean a whole lot to you, but what we're looking at and what we're trying to get to is we've proposed a 3-camera system here for the boardroom. If you look at that diagram up there, we've got one camera that will get the board area, We've got another camera that's going to capture the presentation area and the screen. And then a third camera that we can configure to get the audience. And we've got that camera in there. I know that's kind of an additional camera for when we do like wellness or insurance presentations or things of that nature, where we reconfigure the board area. In the past, we've kind of used the video camera for that, but that takes some staff time and setup to run. So we figured as part of this project, since it's a minimal expense to add it on, that we would just put this in here and actually get a fixed camera for those functions. If you scroll down a little bit, I took some pictures of what that's going to look like. So the first option, that will show you kind of what you'll get from the board. I apologize, the first two images when I was doing the layout got reversed. So red is green and green is red, but we probably won't have the projector in that shot. The camera will probably end up right about here and angled down more, but that's just what I was able to get with my cell phone to show you kind of what it would look like. And then if you scroll down a little bit more, the second option shows kind of what we'll get for this presentation table on the screen. And then for most board meetings, I think what we'll end up with is kind of a split screen. If you scroll down a little bit for option 3, so that you can see everything at once. Now you'll be able to click through if you want someone to man the cameras between all 3 of these options for the board. Or if you just want something that's kind of a set it and forget it for Zoom, you can pick the option 3, and then that will capture everything while the board meeting's going on. And then just put on a little bit more, that will show you kind of what that will look like if we do like a wellness or insurance presentation in here or something like that. The system will interface into Zoom just like the OWL does today. It's going to capture the ceiling mics, and we've got lapel mics coming for the board to kind of get rid of some of the audio imbalances that we've had problems with in the past. So it will pick up all of that along with the video and put it out in the Zoom meeting format.
So I thought this included removing the ceiling mic.
Yes, I should say like the portable mics, not those ceiling mics, but
Okay.
any of the microphones in the room, like the goosenecks. Sorry, yeah, the ceiling mics will be going away.
But the goosenecks will.
The goosenecks will
be able to
stay, yep.
Okay.
As an option too, you can use either the goosenecks or the lapel. If there's audio issues, of course, we encourage using the lapel mics just because they'll pick up anything.
So the gooseneck should, I'm sorry, Linda, go ahead.
Sure.
Can there be a gooseneck or some kind of fixed microphone on that, the presenter's, podium here?
I don't think that's part of it, but we could certainly see if we can put that in
I thought
there.
we've had one there before. I would be concerned about having a lapel mic.
You don't like the lapel mic at the
Well,
podium?
not if you're gonna have a lot of, let's say we have a huge public
Mhm.
meeting, and people are coming to use the lapel mic.
Oh, I
all the
see.
time.
So like
They have
if they're
to give
coming
it
up to the
one
podium,
other,
right,
somebody
hand off.
forgets, Somebody, last person forgets and walks out with the lapel mic. I think that would be the fixed mic.
I would agree.
And I also wondered, and I'll be on the second.
No,
I
that's
also
all right.
wondered, you said the owl goes away.
Yes,
That's good, because it is not responding anymore to speakers, to voices. Because I was watching it this morning and it's not responding. So I think that, I like.
And I don't-
I question the third camera, what's the cost to adding?
so the cost for the third camera, the camera itself is only about $2,500. The extra equipment to run the camera adds a little bit extra. I think it comes to about $7,000 total. The main reason we've done that is in the past, we've had some scheduling conflicts because there's only one video camera and there's, only so much to check out. Also, whenever it's done recording, someone's got to take the recording off the video camera and get that put together and ready to put up on YouTube. So there would be a savings there as well from staff time, because once you've done it in Zoom, it's just ready to go. You can post it right up.
I'll let others ask questions, then others have questions about the price tag.
Sure.
So you said we could keep the goosenecks potentially, so will that actually then project out so the audience can hear versus just kind of generally looking at the
So,
recording audio?
If you're having issues with projecting audio with the gooseneck, that's where we would heavily suggest the lapel mics. And you would use one or the other, just because we've all heard the famous microphone echoing back and forth that you'll get like in Zoom or whatnot. For you folks, you probably want to use the lapel mics most of the time. The goosenecks would be a fallback if for some reason someone's not comfortable with the lapel mic. And with the removal of the ceiling mics, I don't think we'll need any extra capacity for that podium microphone. We'll just probably have to buy the microphone itself.
So for clarification, though, were you asking projecting out into the room?
So-
Right.
So out in the room, the microphone, the speaker system that's here, is not going to be changed. With the removal of the ceiling mics, we can ask the AV folks if it's possible to get those speakers turned back up. I know that was kind of a problem because of course they're right down into those ceiling mics, so it kind of creates a feedback loop. But yeah, any microphone, if we can get the speakers turned back up, should be able to project in the room, provided it's picking you up.
Sure, and that's what I was wondering, because I
Sure.
know when we've had hearings before, some people in the back can't hear as well, and I want to make sure if we're going to spend the money,
Right.
folks can actually hear what we're having to say, and stuff, or vice versa, when they come to their mics, that everybody in the room can.
And
hear as
I'll make
well.
sure and ask that question about the
Okay.
speakers too.
Okay, then I also have a question on, again, on that third camera.
Mhm.
And I also know that sometimes if you go to, if you decide you want a third, there's an added, it could
Yes,
be even greater cost.
Right.
On that. So can you just talk a little bit more on the benefit of having that third
Well-
camera? And I want to make sure that we're getting what we're
right.
wanting out of this, that we
Right.
don't implement something and
Sure.
say, oh, holy cow, this
So-
isn't what we're wanting is all.
So the extra equipment was the roughly 5,000 that would be saved along with the 2,000 from the camera. And we would encourage that to be there just in case there needs to be extra capacity, even if you decide not to get the camera right now. I know we haven't done a lot in this room with COVID and stuff like that. If we get back to a pre-COVID mindset, I know that, there was a lot of health and wellness stuff that used to go on in this room. We would do our benefit sessions in this room. So really, it's just there to provide access to a camera at all times. There's no conflicts with scheduling. No one has to take that video and process it or do anything with it. It's just ready to go. It should make it a lot simpler too if someone's doing a meeting after hours where there's not technical support, there's no camera set up, there's nothing to just hit the button and start the Zoom meeting and away they go. So it's mainly there as a supplement for how this room gets used outside of board meetings. And it just kind of made sense to include it at this time since we're redoing the camera.
Are all of those videotaped though? All the sessions?
A lot of them are. A lot of the
Yes.
wellness stuff are, and a lot of the health and well, yeah.
And then my understanding, so does this program or equipment then hone in on like the person who's speaking? Does it
So-
target that, or does it keep it as that broad?
As the problem we've had with the owl, and I know you guys have seen this, a lot of the stuff that picks up on movement, the technology just really isn't there. A lot of times you'll get, the owl will zoom in on someone typing or someone move their arm or they get up from a chair. So we kind of designed this to be more of a set it and forget it type of scenario so that you get the whole board all the time and you get the presentation table all the time. There are options that you could do that are not in this that would try to use motion sensing or activating a mic. The reason we didn't go on down that road is a lot of times, if you're having a discussion around 3 people, all the mics are going to be gone. So how is the camera going to know where to go? It's not. And trying to get the discipline of, well, you turn your mic off so the next person turns theirs on, the camera moves is probably not feasible either. So we just decided that it was probably best to have something that gets a good view of the board itself and a good view of the presentation table, and then have that be what we have. Now, if you do want to go back and try to make it more like that, we can explore those options. They are more costly because there's got to be a motorization of the camera and it's got to have an AI behind it to go through and figure out where to go. But based on how we've seen this room used, we thought it was best probably just to have a picture here and then a picture of the presentation table so that it gets folks at all times.
Well, I was supposed to do that, but I was just noticing that, Lisa was talking, it was on me.
Right.
And it was like
Yep.
a 2-minute delay or something.
Sure.
It's got an incredible delay. It's so knowing what that cost, I can imagine if you got something that really works for that.
Well, it
It
really,
costs a lot more.
if you, a lot of the times when you see it where it zooms in on the person, there's actually probably a human back there,
Right.
with a camera
Saying-
control that's saying
so-
camera 3, camera 2, camera 1, and going back and forth. A lot of the stuff where this works is like, this is really built for a small conference room where you sit down with 5 or 8 people and it goes around the table.
And
It does a good job for what we've made it do.
It's been very useful.
Yeah.
If we didn't have it, there's a lot of things we could not have done during the pandemic, and it really has served the purpose better.
Well, and we plan on repurposing this too. we were talking about the camera thing, there's other departments that could really have a use for it. I know the sheriff's office has talked about having something in their squad room area. Conservation's talked about having something for their conferences. We do have a checkout owl, but there's of course conflicts there because it's only one. But so the owl's not being put in the trash. It will go on to a better place.
We had an estimate of a ballpark that we were working on a couple months ago that was so significantly, and I know the amounts are blacked out on this thing. too.
Right,
But
and it
I've seen
was.
them, and it was significantly less.
Yes.
That's why I was interested in what the third camera cost, if that was it, or what happened.
So the original proposal, and I think this is, and I haven't seen everything that Barb put together for you folks, and I think that was with a different vendor, was basically a one camera system that would be manually moved around the different positions. And as we looked at the needs of this room and what we thought you folks would like, it expanded. And I think the audio video in here has been revisited like 3 or 4 times in the last 10 years. So we're trying to find something that would maybe be a more lasting solution that would be a better fit for how this room gets utilized. I think the one camera, the solution you're talking about would have been pretty frustrating for anyone trying to run the meeting, just because trying to get the camera to move to the person back and forth, like you said, it's not very fast, even the mechanisms move around. So I think you would have had kind of a jerky experience with that, or you would have just been focused on one place at one time, which you don't want, because you definitely want the ability to see the board and the presenter at the same time.
And it was a different vendor.
It was a different vendor. Yep. Yeah, but it was a much simpler system.
And I'm assuming by what you're saying too, if we were looking at having a mic at the podium.
Yes. Yep. I wrote that down to make sure that we, yeah. It shouldn't, and I don't have the figures right in front of me, but it should not be a lot, because I think we'll have the capacity for the extra microphone. I'll verify that, but I don't think it's good. It should just be the cost of the microphone and the wiring.
Gotcha.
And then we'll also need one that's presented.
Yes. Yep.
Is that in there already?
I'll have to look to see how many microphones he put in. If it's not, I'll make sure that we put one in there. He may have assumed, we have the puck mics, because we talked about whenever the area back here gets used for like, not necessarily a wellness meeting, but sometimes we'll reconfigure the tables, for like a coop cog meeting or something. He may have assumed we'd use one of those, but I can make sure and ask if there's a fixed mic at the speaker table.
In some graphs we've seen on the space needs study, there's discussion about the fact that this room isn't big enough for all the public meetings that we end up with. And talk about having an overflow room
Okay.
somewhere. How would this, and if we did that, I'm not sure how we would do that in terms of public presentations, but just in terms of people viewing who came here in person.
So are you asking, taking what is being captured in this room and putting it in another room?
And potentially that first, and potentially the second thing would be whether there could be a option for people if they wanted to speak, if there's a public hearing or something like that, if they could speak from another room and it could be tied into the system.
That's not currently in this scope, but we can,
Didn't
yeah.
ask for it.
Yep.
But I'm just bringing it up because it could be on that.
So the feed, taking it from this room and putting it into a second room, so it's just, they can see what's going on, should not be really a big deal, because you're just taking the video and audio and you're putting it in, like having another TV that tunes into the same channel. Getting that interactive is probably where you would look at cost. You would need something to bring that audio in there, and you'd have to have something on the control board that says, I now want to switch to option 5, if you will, that says, I want to go into that room. I want to look at this camera and this mic now for the Zoom feed. And I can ask if this has the ability to go beyond what they've got for cameras in here. I'm not sure how many it supports. If you would like to have that in there, we can, and I would say now is the time, we can have that in as an added cost.
Could we, alternatively, could we not, if we had overflow in another room,
Mhm.
have like a computer in that
Sure,
room.
you could use
and
like a laptop and Zoom in there.
into
Mhm.
This meeting, and then,
Yep.
yeah, if someone needed to
Yep.
make a comment, then whoever's running Zoom could make
Sure.
that room a
Presenter,
presenter,
yep.
and so.
It
there-
just
there
wouldn't
might-
have, it just wouldn't have the official
Yeah.
podium and camera type scenario that Linda was
We
describing.
don't-
Right, right.
And in fact, we don't do it very often.
No.
That might be a good enough, but I do think we need to consider overflow space.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Yeah.
I've seen some places that have like a TV,
Mhm.
you know, so that your computer's projecting on a larger
Sure.
TV, so everybody can see in that overflow
Sure.
row. You could have them come up somewhere in there to make, or you'd look at who's in the queue and say so-and-so's up, so they would know to come down the hall
Right.
or whatever, to come into.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So for now, are we looking at looking at expansion, or do you just want the question answered whether it could handle it down the road?
I just wanted to bring it up.
Okay.
I don't want, I'm not sure that we need add it to a bid. 'Cause I
Okay.
think what we've talked about here using Zoom
Sure,
could do it fairly reasonably.
sure,
You know, as long as we can project it into another.
right. And you could use basically any laptop with a mic or a camera just to be a little informal presentation podium.
So when we talked before, one of the things we talked about was maybe going with the ability to have 3 cameras, but only getting 2
Right.
for right now.
Yep.
Were you able to talk to them about if that was
Yes,
possible?
so removing the camera is about a $2,500 savings. Removing the equipment for the third camera is a $7,000 savings.
7,000 total.
Total, to remove all the equipment and the camera, $2,500 for just the camera removal.
But if we remove the equipment for the camera, then if we decide at a later date that we want to.
You'd have,
go
yeah,
with the
you'd have to
third
put it back in.
And would there be other costs potentially if you're.
The only-
Cameras at this time and then say, okay, a year or 2 down the road, oh, gosh, we wish we would have gotten that third one.
The only thing that I could see being an issue of cost is and we all know how fast technology moves, is if the equipment you buy as the controller today somehow doesn't work with whatever model they decide to come out with in 3 years. So then you'd be looking at more of a cost. I don't know that would happen, but it's possible.
Sure. Pretty much as soon as you buy your computer. it's
Exactly,
obsolete, so
Exactly.
I think the question is, would we benefit from that third camera? My thought would be is, if we think it would be a benefit, then it would probably make sense to get it now. So I make sure it's interfacing with.
Yep. Get all your
everything
cabling done,
now.
rip the room up once and. yeah.
Right.
I have a question. Did these folks look at our lighting in
Yes.
this room?
Yes, they
So do
did.
they feel it is sufficient, or do we need to address that while we,
They
look
did
at
not
camera?
bring up the lighting as a concern with the cameras.
okay,
So what they saw is Kyle came up here before he left and took video of the room and pictures of the room with it all lit up and sent it to him,
okay,
which is what they based their quote off of.
And so was it raised as an issue?
It was, because we know the presenter's table was an issue, and then we said the board was an issue. And they thought the professional cameras would pick up the needed contrast to make sure that no one looked like they were in shadows.
Okay.
and if we went with the, and in the audience as well, 'cause
The third camera.
okay. That was my concern, is that we look at that now versus addressing it after the fact. So
Right.
if they think it's adequate,
Lighting was definitely raised as an issue.
I figured I just
It
wanted
was.
to make sure.
Thanks. I
Yeah.
appreciate you asking that question.
No problem.
Did you say this interfaces with the current audio?
It does, yep.
Does anybody have any estimate of the wellness sessions, the benefit sessions, the other sessions that are done in here that we are currently recording? How many a year that might be? I better listen to that.
We have 5 or 6 wellness sessions. And the main reason that we, while we're doing this project, would be beneficial is we have a lot of employees that cannot attend those in person. So it is so important to have that video opportunity where they can log in and do that. The ones on a video camera, the quality, it's very different, the quality. So, I mean, to me, between the staff time doing it, the you know, IT is worked well in getting the videos up and ready, but you know, sometimes they might not have, you know, depending on their workload, different things. So the other option is whenever we have, you know, other departmental meetings, having that full picture versus the traditional board setting. I can see that third camera would probably get used more than just wellness and benefit sessions. Now, the benefit sessions, we do record those. It's once a year. But those are really important. We want employees to be able to know if they're not going to be able to come to the live meeting and hear that. We want them to make sure they get that information too.
So what's the difference in the staff time using the video camera versus having this third camera? What's the process difference?
Well, essentially, it's once the third camera is essentially done once you've hit the end of the Zoom meeting. So like if you've ever looked at a commercial camcorder, usually it'll break the video up into segments. So you've got to put all those together. You have to get the video formatted properly to get it up onto YouTube, make sure that it's not too big. You get to get it out in the S drive. Once the Zoom meeting is done, the Zoom meeting gives you a video that is all ready to go. So basically at that point, if you want to upload it to YouTube, you can. If you want to put it on the S drive, you can. There's really no time involved with the video once it's done with a third camera that's fixed.
I know when we first decided to have Zoom, there was kind of like, well, we have WebEx, we have some of these other things, but we went with Zoom, and I don't think anybody's been sorry we've done that. I'm just assuming Zoom will be here to stay and will be here to stay for us. So that does save considerable time.
Sure.
It's better quality. And you're right, there are probably some other meetings that happen during the year that we might want to Zoom in this room that might be bigger meetings. So
I think too, you're gonna have Board of Health and other boards that.
Well, I think of all your committees, I mean, watershed. I mean, I don't know what you have to use as far as Zoom, if, you know. I know we utilized it a lot in the last year and a half, but I think having a whole.
there are a lot of meetings where we have a larger group of people
Yeah.
and so many that they can't sit here and get on that camera, and people, if people can Zoom in, I'm thinking some of the regional kind of things in particular.
But you know, they don't have to travel 2 or 3. I mean, I don't know.
Yes, kind of meetings.
Yeah. I think it'll be utilized more than just
Yeah.
wellness and benefits. I mean,
Yeah,
that's
at first I
my
looked at it
thought.
and I thought,
No,
and then I'm thinking, oh yeah, there's a lot.
yeah, there's more meetings that would be beneficial. So
Yeah, that's helpful, because my question was really, how much are we going to need the audience part captured? Is it
Yeah.
necessary? But
well, and it might be used for other departments and offices too, if they have that option where they've got staff spread out amongst various areas and they want to have, you know. So
just for clarification, I think it does still take time to upload. the
Oh,
video.
sure. Yeah, there's
Even
a
on Zoom,
copy
so.
time involved in
Yeah.
logging the account, but you're
But
not
it's a lot
opening
less.
Adobe Premiere or like what we use downstairs and putting the video in there and getting the audio and all that. It's already done for you.
And do you think it would be possible to, for the lapel mics, to do something where the unit is attached in some way to the table so they're not 100% wireless? So that nobody who is.
Oh, you
sitting
don't
here at
want to
the
walk
table
out?
could just go home
Yeah.
with one.
Yeah, we have that as a
can talk about that
concern.
later
Yeah.
too, but
And so I do have that. I need to make sure that we've got capacity and a podium microphone, that the speakers in the room can still be utilized better, and that there'll be of course, you want 1 or 2 microphones at the presenter's table. Do you think 1 is sufficient?
if it's movable.
If it's movable, you
probably-
think it's okay, or do you want 2?
What do you think? Right.
I don't have the microphone cost in front of me, but I think when we bought a replacement for a gooseneck, they're $300 to $500 was the last time we bought one. So it's not a huge expense, and that's probably high.
I think a lot of times when we have people come in making presentations, we have more than one person.
Right.
It might be easier if we just,
Two.
think of something, let's get it done
Okay.
now and not eating it when we're dining in or
Okay.
piecing it together. That's it.
All right.
Any other questions? My one question is, do you want that information before we have a motion for bring it back next week, or do you want to move ahead knowing that there may be some potential increase in cost?
Do you have other funds to get those microphones out of, or would we be part of this?
I think you could probably take them out of the equipment or data processing equipment funds. Don't you think, Lisa? Since they're,
Let's talk.
okay,
Let's talk fun.
let's
shall we?
talk funds.
Right.
Okay, yeah, that was the reason.
My first, right, my first comment is, IT's budget cannot afford it at this point until we amend it.
Mhm.
My second comment is, all along, I've been thinking of this as ARPA dollars. Or use of ARPA dollars. So I am gonna recommend that you just go ahead and pay for it out of the either the regular ARPA dollars that we've already, amended into the budget. Not amended in, spoken for in the budget, or we do it as revenue loss, whichever one, it's gonna come out of ARPA that way.
And you don't have any reservations about this fitting into the regular ARPA dollars?
I don't. I have it from day one.
Yeah, this is something that they talk, a number of places talk
Right.
about, was upgrading their audio, video.
Right, right.
For better accessibility.
Now, I am not the ARPA police, but from day one, I thought that this project fit into it from the time it was $7,000 to now.
I did have one question I need to ask earlier. This table, is it going to move a lot from where it's at? I know that there's been talk of getting a more permanent.
Yeah, Joby's working on something.
I was just thinking from a cabling perspective, if it's going a long ways in the room where the camera needs to be set up and all that.
Table that we're building, basically a duplicate of what Bryce is sitting at right
Okay.
now. Aaron is working on it, and it will have wheels, but I don't,
You think
We
it's gonna be
haven't-
right around this spot?
yeah, it
Okay.
should be within a foot of where we're at. We had anticipated on
Oh,
whatever
there'll be no
we
problem
need
then.
for microphones or whatever. We were gonna put a jack in the front of that
Let them
wall
run
and
it
put
down under the
the,
carpet.
yeah,
Okay.
put those little cable.
Chases.
Chases.
Well,
Jesus.
get rid of this little.
Yeah,
table,
this,
right?
yeah, this will all
We
be
won't need that
gone
anymore because
because
there'll be a
the owl-
camera instead of the Zoom guy, the owl.
The owl.
Right, and the reason for the wheels is really just to get it out of the way.
Sure, if it's need to
Like
be
I
configured
said,
in the room.
But it's normal home, I suppose, is
Right around
roughly
this
right
area.
here.
Okay.
But yeah, the wheels are just so that when we use this room for larger meetings and set up tables, and we can wheel it off to the side, but
That's just the only thing I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Is that way, because that column is probably where this camera is gonna live.
makes sense.
And it'll be high enough up, it won't capture the board's heads. We'll make sure we don't want that.
But you gotta hear back there.
Yeah, no kidding.
Well, you got hair back there, usually on top there.
No,
Yeah, there you go.
region there, it's a little shiny.
There's that.
Yeah, my only concern is that the lighting that we now have, that the table is positioned so that the lighting is not shadowing the person from above. So if we need to push the table back a little bit more so we get more light on the face of the presenters, I want to make sure we can still do that where the cameras are placed. And if not that, then we're gonna need a little extra light coming down somehow to the presenters. And
Sure.
I would hate for that to then line the camera
Right, you don't want.
that's
We
in
might-
this direction. So I think there's still things we
Yeah.
need to,
And given the timeline that
Balance.
Kyle took his photos and sent to him, we added
Right,
what's
well, the
directly
can lights
above
are
us. So
are
we
brighter
might
too.
have, if, given the professional level of the cameras, we might have too much lighting at this point for the new cameras.
so
But
you could,
I would hope they'd be able to dial down,
yeah,
Supposed to be dialed down a little bit.
or the camera can. You should be able to,
these,
should be able to adjust the settings.
these aren't dimmable, but we can always put dimmable lights in place of those. These were just ones we had on hand. They're left over from the animal control project, so we installed them because we had them.
Good reuse, but they.
Right.
But yeah, I mean,
So, Lisa, would you suggest then we include the funding source in a motion?
If you want to, perfect. That makes it easier when it has to be paid for.
right.
I would move that we approve the Heartland AV quote plus the addition of 2 microphones for the presenters table and the payment be from ARPA funds.
And the podium.
And the podium.
And the photo.
Three mics.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Seconded, Merkin,
Aye.
Edmonds.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you for your work on this.
Thanks for all of it. Next, we're moving on to consideration of capital improvements plans for FY 23 through 27. Good morning.
Good morning. The board has seen this throughout the entire budget work session, throughout all entire budget work sessions and the process that Lisa identified for the budget development, so I'm not going to belabor all that. You received public comment last week, which again, I want to celebrate that we did receive public comment this go around. What is in front of you now is the final copy for consideration. Again, as noted on the agenda, it goes from fiscal year 23 to 27. However, we do include the remainder of this current fiscal year in the CIP each year as current projects. Are there any specific questions?
This little box should put over the last fiscal year total. I don't remember those from before. That's good to just kind of look at it.
They're just a slight organizational modifications, some condensation, not
I had
condensation.
to realize that it was the same on
reducing it.
3 separate too.
Yeah,
So
oh
few
yeah,
Pages, once I figured that out, I thought, that's good.
not condensed language, not condensation. I'm thinking of the weather outside,
Yeah.
condensed language.
There's no other significant changes from what we've seen before.
Just editorial, no, yeah, layout,
Like
editorial,
$1 million here or there.
No.
or-
no. I think Lisa would shoot me. If it is, it's purely accidental, we'll say that.
And the reality is that it's all planning document.
Exactly.
These aren't guarantees that in FY 26, this is exactly what it looks like. It's good to have. Here's ahead of time, so we kind of know the direction.
That is a great reminder. It is a planning tool that has worked very well over the past few years. I don't have a formal presentation or anything. We've done this long enough,
Many
so
times,
yeah.
yes. Yes, I don't have any questions.
Approval of the capital improvements plan for this year 23 to 27 as presented.
Second.
And seconded, Hens.
Aye.
Merkin.
Aye.
Basil, aye. Thank you, Leanne.
I will get that uploaded on the website again, and we'll do a formal press release as well.
Wonderful. Moving on to consideration of appointments to the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance for Community Development with a board of directors.
So as the board will recall, over the past actually year, development of MIPA has been underway. It's the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance for Community Development. We're now at the stage that all the organizations that wanted to join have joined. I think I submitted a claim last week for the payment. If not, I'll submit it this week. Now is the time for the board of supervisors to appoint who you would like to be the representative to serve on that board of directors. They had been meeting at 10 a.m. on Tuesdays. They're modifying that starting in May, so 10 a.m. on Thursdays. I think there is an interim board of directors right now. Brenda Dreyer and I both have served on that. And that was just kind of to get through some of the housekeeping items. So it is blank because you have not had a conversation. If you have the conversation today and then direct me, I can bring it back on consent for formal action as well next week. Are there any questions? This is not the Mid-Iowa Development Fund that was discussed last week.
Yes.
A different, different entity. Yeah. Yeah, and
So we haven't had discussion about, somebody permanent on this. We could name, what are our parameters for a representative?
I have not seen what other entities have done. Generally, I would assume it's a board rep or an alternate to a staff
Board member?
a board member.
Is that something we can look at to see what some of the other entities?
Yeah, I think everyone's trying to do it right now.
Oh, gotcha.
So I can shoot an email to Gunnar Olson with the Des Moines MPO and find out how far people are. I know.
I'm interested.
Yeah, I'd be interested, but if you guys are interested, that's. I didn't really think so.
What does it fit best with? Does it fit with MPO work? Does it fit with housing trust? Does
I'm
it
thinking
fit with-
more along the housing
Okay.
is where I'm, because some of the projects are going to be housing or infrastructure.
So it fit with either trust or housing
Mhm.
trust fund or MPO.
So it'd probably fit better if Deepa has time, then she's on housing.
I'm good with whatever. The rest of you.
But I think that was a good
If you're
question
too
to ask.
busy,
them. I think that was a good question to ask.
I'm
them.
going to suggest if you're too busy, I would be willing to take it now and next year we, or board chair can take it, or if you want to take it now, that's fine with me too.
I do not have a preference. If you would like
It's
to
gonna
do it
come to
this-
flip a coin time. I think.
And this will just be through the end of this calendar
Right.
year, and then at your organizational meeting next year,
Figure it out.
it'll be added to the list.
10 o'clock on Thursdays.
That is my understanding of how they are going to transition.
Regular Thursdays.
Then the first annual meeting is 10 a.m. Thursday, May 26th.
That's a Tuesday, May 26th.
And they,
Thursday.
That's a Thursday.
Oh, I'm in April. I apologize. I've moved it to May. Do you usually have Thursday mornings available? I do usually have Thursday mornings.
You're gonna be monthly?
I think the idea is transition to quarterly, but that is part of the discussion that will occur that first meeting. Once the form, again, keeping in mind it's an interim board of directors right now, and we have been meeting monthly.
Tifa, I'm gonna leave it up to you. If you've got the time, why don't you do it? 'Cause it fits with the conversation. If you don't have the time, I'll take it from you. For the rest of the year. It's your choice.
Well, I mean, I would like to do it,
Okay.
but I'm also happy to let you do it if you would rather. Okay, I'll do it.
I will reach out to Gunnar and find out if they're doing alternates as well.
Mhm.
If generally that's how people are, they've just asked for one representative. And then bring it back for a formal action next Tuesday on consent. That's,
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you.
I think we'll need the alternate. so.
Okay. Yeah, I think we need a formal motion to some discussion.
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can take action today too, and I can just fill it out
We
and
just
submit
take
it.
action and then come back. then.
That works for me
If
too.
you read it, are you okay with me being
That's
on?
fine. I'll make the motion that we appoint Latifa to the Mid-Iowa Planning Alliance for Community Development and the Board of Directors, and if there's an alternate.
Second. Seconded, Hens, aye. Merkin,
Aye.
Basil, aye. Moving on to consideration of modifications to the 2020 Urban Renewal Area Project and application for Ames Main Street, City of Ames. We have Leanne and Sarah.
Hi, my name's Liz. Liz Urban is with us as well.
Wonderful.
Could
you? Yeah, pull up another chair.
Just wanted to pull up
another chair if you'd like. If you can,
So Liz Urbis is our design chair for Ames Main Street. We operate with a board, sits on our board of directors. So we're, so what we have come today is that we are super grateful for the Urban Renewal Area Project grant we received. Due to some changes in supply chain, we've run into a couple of issues. The items that we had originally picked out for our bistro tables, our dining tables, and our chairs are no longer available. We can find similar ones, but the price has gone up. Additionally, as we have worked with the city of Ames on some other projects, the city of Ames plans on replacing trash cans in our district. As that project moves forward, that we are going to see cigarette receptacles in as part of those trash cans. So as we previously requested for funding for those, we no longer will need the additional cigarette receptacles since that will be added into our district as is. I had written out in my letter, we broke out how much we, with the total of the amount we received for the grant, as well as what we plan on using the funds for. We are just here today to ask for an amendment to how we plan on spending the dollars.
So you have originally at 27,000 and you're amending it down to 15.
No, they were awarded, the original request was 27,000, but what was awarded by the Board of Supervisors through that grant cycle was 15,544. So the amount that was awarded by the board is not changing. However, the uses of those funds, even though ultimately it's essentially the same purpose, but past boards have wanted to see when applications have been modified. And so that's why I say, yeah, we need action by the board.
Sounds pretty simple. I don't have any questions. Okay. I would move approval of the modifications for 2020 Urban Renewal Area Project and application for Ames Main Street.
Second.
Seconded, Merkin.
Aye.
Aye. Basil, aye.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Very much.
I will draft a formal letter and get the chair to sign that too.
Okay.
Just Sarah, so you have that for your.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Right, we've got nothing for departmental reports or other reports, upcoming agenda items. Moving on to public comment number 2, comments from the public on items not on this agenda. The board may not take any action on the comments due to the requirements of open meetings law, but may do so in the future. If you'd like to make public comment, you can step forward to the table, raise your hand on Zoom, or *9 if you are on the phone. And we'll close public comment number 2. Moving on to liaison assignments, committee meeting updates, and announcements from supervisors. Supervisor Higgins, you want to go first?
Sure, looks like we have a meeting with one staff this afternoon. Tomorrow, looks like tomorrow evening, we have a meeting. Oh, no, that was a change because I had it down with the city and the county. We're not doing that one tomorrow night. That's been changed. So then it looks like Thursday, clean up stuff around here. Monday, I have a CEO, workforce CEO meeting at 9 AM, and I think that's the day that you're also having that the ISU's youth government coming in on Monday.
Yes.
Yep, so I'll pop in for part of that as well. And it looks like Tuesday morning next week, we have a drainage district meeting at 9. And I just want to make sure, did you get both get the email from Diane Boss? She's inquiring to see if next Tuesday, the 5th would work.
Yep.
For a
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It does not work for me. I host meeting.
About the two of us can go, that
Yeah.
is a forum.
Yeah, that's fine.
Not good on.
Great.
Okay. Tomorrow morning, we have a meeting with the Headwaters Watershed Management Authority in Roland. Most of the morning, maybe into the afternoon. And later in the afternoon, I hope to attend Raising Meters. I think we have an opening in at the mall. And Friday morning, I'll be off Friday morning. And Monday, I'll be at the ISU students. I think I'm forgetting something, but there's another meeting this morning. But yeah, got a meeting this afternoon, staff as Lisa stated.
Yes. I have all of the, many of those same meetings. Only thing additional that I have is Thursday, there is a conversation about childcare needs in Roland that I'll be going to on Thursday evening. So after that, I have a CFR board meeting Thursday evening. I have a boost meeting Friday evening, and then again next Tuesday evening. And that's it. I did want to mention, I got an email from the Iowa Hunger Coalition that SNAP benefits are being cut as a result of the Iowa Public Health Disaster Emergency Proclamation ending, and households are going to see approximately a $95 per household decrease, which translates to an average SNAP benefit for individuals dropping from $2.65 per meal to an estimated $1.52 per meal. So just making everyone aware that food insecurity is going to be an even bigger challenge now than before.
Do you know what the status of our food banks are? You know, are they? Yeah, we haven't heard from them for a while. Like their capacity.
It depends on the items. Like some of the items, they're not having a hard time with, but meat, they're having a really difficult time getting any type of meat at all. But then there are other items that they have more than plenty of. So it just kind of depends on the moment. We are going to be participating in the United Ways food drive starting the beginning of next month.
Okay.
So we'll have a receptive box here in this building, and then there are going to be boxes all throughout the county.
Can we have text donations like that? Good.
Yep, through the United Ways website.
And that's the way in terms of things that are other than canned goods or packaged goods. Hey, I have a question for you from my. Yeah, you said you were going to Roland Monday?
Thursday, this Thursday.
Oh,
at
I
4.
actually have something on my calendar for Roland next Monday. They're Roland Community Survey results, the library. I didn't know if that was related or not. I don't know where
I will ask them.
Yeah, but I'm gonna try to get to that.
Okay.
See what that's about. I can report you to them. Maybe you can have them in charge.
Absolutely. All right. Anything else?
Second.
Seconded, Hens.
Aye.
Morgan.
Aye.
Basil, aye. You're adjourned.